Sup all, my name's Dogman. Today we're going to be covering the Marvel Rivals Ignite preseason. Bit of a different video than I usually make, especially on my main channel, where I cover a lot of variety of things. But I kind of come from like an esports background. As a former player in the Overwatch scene, I tend to love these type of games. Hero shooters are sick, and the Rivals esports scene is kicking off. I've been casting this game officially for Netties for basically 2 years now, and this preseason was nothing like I've seen before, so I think it was worth covering. I've kind of been thinking a lot about most of these teams, so this is going to be a very sort of loose video, kind of just on my overall thoughts on preseason and the teams in Ignite so far. So this is the beginning, guys. It's the start of everything Rivals esports-wise, and with the partner team skins and shit, I hope we get a lot more like sort of diversity in terms of like different skins and stuff in the game. The Deadpool stuff is sick, but I think it'd be really cool if like the teams could have like maybe specific skins or something, you know, like maybe we get even specific emotes or whatever, like with Space Station Gaming, for example. Maybe they have one of the heroes put on a space helmet or something like that. I don't fucking know. Or we could just do like theme skins or something. Just, I want to see them get a little bit more creative than just Deadpool wearing a jersey. I liked them. I bought them, but I think they couldn't get a little bit more creative, and especially because I don't play any more Deadpool because that character is annoying as fuck, and I'd rather play Elsa Bloodstone because she's broken and fun. Anyways, that's just a personal gripe. Maybe eventually they add some more to the game or whatever. Hopefully I don't get fired. Maybe with this video we'll go into some specific maybe drama toward the end of the video if I really want to. I can't say that's going to happen for certain, but we can talk about specific teams and stuff, right? So my notes are kind of loose. Like I said, this video is not something I typically make. I usually don't just have me rambling for like half an hour unless I am losing my mind in a manic state. So this is going to be a bit kind of confusing probably to follow for most people not in the esports scene, but I'll try to kind of cover every team and maybe some like highlight moments that happen throughout the tournament if you want to be kept up to date. So if you didn't really know, Marvel Rivals esports preseason started on the it's actually no, it started. Oh fuck, dude, I'm already getting lost. In my notes, I put down the end, the start of the playoffs, which was on April 16th. That's going to start up in another couple of weeks, but we started obviously a couple weeks ago on the 27th, right? Because the preseason group stages started on the 27th. The main thing I wanted to point out was that the patch, the White Fox patch for Marvel Rivals Season 7, dropped on the 20th, right? That had a lot of different things. Obviously, with the White Fox coming in, it had the global ult change for basically minus 20% across the board for every single hero, which changed the game like crazy because strat ults were not built this quickly. Everybody across the board can't build ult that fast, so a lot of the heroes kind of decreased in value almost. So there was almost overreactions, underreactions. Basically what happens is a new patch comes in, and especially one as big as this, all of the pros are going to be all over the place trying to figure out what's good, and they're going to be trying new things, which can fuck up your confidence as a team. It could do a lot of stuff that people don't realize in sort of the internals of a team that I think can really mess up a lot of the top performing rosters that everybody thought were top performing going into this week, which meant a big difference because of the fact that obviously everybody had to predict due to the fact that in the in-game client, people and anybody can predict on matches and shit. We basically had sports gambling without the money, which is kind of crazy, but like I guess money was involved because units are involved. There's also a title you can get and shit, so that's like obviously that has some monetary value due to the fact that it's a cosmetic in the game that most of the time NetEase makes people pay for. So it's kind of a big deal, right? Kind of a huge deal. And especially since there's a lot of people like kind of clickbaiting, trying to be like, yo, I know the top teams or whatever. And then everybody was fucking wrong. So it was just a crazy sort of interesting situation. So like a patch dropping 1 week before a tournament is kind of something I want to talk about real quick before we get into specifics of a team, just because, I mean, I can relate to a lot of these pros dealing with that. When I played Overwatch for a bit, one of my coaches and myself had a bit of an argument internally because there was a patch, I believe, in Overwatch when I played in Overwatch League. There was a patch that dropped a week before a big match that came up, and I think it was like a Genji. It was either Genji or Tracer. I could be flipping either of the two. Basically, I think they buffed Genji a week before a really important match, and my coach was like, "Yo, dude, Tracer's still good, dude. We got to keep playing Tracer." And then we kept playing Tracer, and it was not going the best, but we were still kind of doing okay in practice because realistically, we were a top team at the time, and I was like, okay, like it's tough to tell if it's actually good. The Genji was, it's tough to tell if the Tracer was actually bad because we were doing well in practice, basically. So the week before our match, we were doing okay, but not as good as our normal standard was. And I was like, yo, wait, Genji's insane now, guys. We should play Genji. But because we were doing good elsewhere, they were like, okay, we don't want to actually play it. We don't have a lot of time. So basically, we were all fucking struggling and scrambling. And then, lo and behold, come match day, Genji was broken. All the top teams were clutching up, popping off with Genji. We had an insane Genji player, but he wasn't playing Genji because we thought Genji was bad. I knew Genji wasn't bad. I told my coach it wasn't bad, but we didn't adapt fast enough, right? There was a lot of things that kind of came up this week. There was a lot of butting heads and a lot of I don't know, stress, even more stress than normal because a patch change a week before a tournament is huge. That's the point that I was trying to make. It's tough to adapt to that fast. And the teams that didn't are not out of the tournament. And the teams that did were still good teams before, but a lot of them actually made those adjustments very fast and actually adapted. But so a lot of teams actually still made it through into the postseason, into the playoffs rather, due to the fact that, you know, maybe they got lucky a few weeks. Maybe they scraped by the skin of their teeth. And we'll talk about that later, right? So we'll get into that in a moment. But like I said, I really can't understate how big of a deal a patch change a week before a tournament is. And then they also are dealing with sort of small patches with like the White Fox changes and stuff. But that's kind of a different story. Regardless, a lot of turmoil in that department. I kind of wanted to talk about each specific team one by one. And these are going to be like I said, loose thoughts. Obviously, I can't get into everything probably. I'm probably not, I don't know. It depends on per team. I have more notes per team or not. Like if you're wondering why, if I don't talk about a certain team, like some amount, it's probably because they didn't stand out to me in some way, or they just dominated a lot of their matches, and there's not much to say until we get into the playoffs and we can actually see a little bit more. Because everything was best out of 3 in the group stages, right? That was the biggest point, is that everything was best out of 3. So it was very fast, very quick. We don't have a lot of reps with these teams. And once we enter the best out of 5 era, we'll get to see a little bit more. And those reps really do matter because we get to see a lot more about these teams on how they play on different maps, because we're only going to see one of each map type at most, unless there was a draw, which there wasn't. So we saw 1 domination, 1 convergence, 1 convoy, in which convergence and convoy, you can kind of like maybe put those two together, although some of those maps are a little bit different. They play at least somewhat similar to each other compared to domination, which is obviously having a centralized point. It's more like King of the Hill, if you're aware of that, and Control in Overwatch, but it's very different playstyle. Dives a lot better on those type of maps, whereas Convoy and Convergence, maybe it depends on the map specifically, because, I mean, NetEase makes some pretty crazy maps, dude. Like, just to get into that real fast, and I don't want to dive into it too much, but obviously, from a map design and balance standpoint, the fact that you could break terrain is insane, first of all. But every map is designed for aesthetics more than balance, generally, in this game, which is great. It's a casual game. I get it. That's totally fine. But from a competitive standpoint, shit can get crazy, right? If somebody breaks the map in fucking Central Park, everything's flying all over the place, and some people can go up and down, left and right, whatever. And that's not even including ping, which we'll talk about later when we get to FlyQuest. Point being, some maps are just very different from each other, so that's why you gotta see those things. But obviously, if you lose map 1 on domination, you're gonna pick a good convoy convergence map for you next, which is maybe not gonna be good for the other team if they are a good dive team and you take them to a map that's not the best for dive or whatever. Then that could be very different, right? You go to a convoy map that's not great for dive, you're maybe gonna struggle, right? If you're the dive team specifically, if you go to, I don't know, like Igisil or something like that. So that's just something to point out. Kind of interesting. Maps are hard to balance competitively, and they're very, very hard to play, I think, for a lot of these pro players due to the fact that they're kind of meant for casuals at large. So we're going to kind of go into it real quick. So from my notes so far, let's talk about 100 Thieves first. I'm going to go from the partner teams down to the invited teams, which are not partner teams. They don't have Deadpool skins. And then we'll go to the MRC teams sort of in that order. And I'm pretty much just going the order that I listed at random. First team we'll talk about is going to be 100 Thieves. They qualify for the playoffs of preseason with a, 2-3 record. They had a -1 map differential, so they went 6-7 total in terms of maps win and loss. So they make the playoffs with a -1 differential, which is already kind of hilarious, as they're the 3rd seed coming out of this, meaning they're going to play against Space Station Gaming in the playoffs. Maybe I'll make a actual playoff matchup video later on. Maybe we'll do a follow-up to this or something. But this is just going to be talking about the group stages, right? This is, in hindsight, a lot of what we're going to talk about. 100 Thieves lost to Shock day number 1. Really fun matchup. That was a banging matchup, actually, in general. But I believe that one was a bit controversial for the squad because when they lost that match, I think people were surprised by the, obviously, NRG playing that well. But it was just back and forth, dude. This was just a banger matchup straight up. Day number 2, it was an off day for them. After that, day number 3, they barely beat FlyQuest, by the way. It was a very prolonged series. I casted that series, and it had like a fucking hour delay because of them discussing what like node they wanted to play and what server node they wanted to connect to, because FlyQuest has a lot of people in Europe playing on 100 ping or whatever. So like they had the argument, what server to go to so that the FlyQuest players could play on decent ping. But obviously the 100 Thieves players wanted to choose a better server for them, so they didn't play on high ping. A lot of discussion in the department. Ping makes a big deal. It makes a big difference. And I'll probably talk about that a little bit later. I guess I can get to that right now while we have a chance, since that was the real series that everybody started kind of talked about that. But ping matters a lot in this game compared to like Overwatch and other hero shooters, because a lot of the melee characters in this game and a lot of the mobility cooldowns are a little bit janky on high ping, basically, where they'll like teleport. Things will teleport past like 70, 80 ping, and you're just like, I used that, but then you didn't because you have to use it way earlier, but then you have to be very fast with your reaction time because pro players are on that shit. And if you're even a millisecond late, you're going to fucking die. So that is even more exemplified if you're on high ping, for example. So obviously the FlyQuest players don't want to play on high ping, but they probably shouldn't have people playing from Europe, right? That's a different discussion. We'll get into that later. So just wanted to point out why that took so long, but that series took even longer because it went the distance into overtime, into a full cap on Kunlun, and that was just an insane ending with 100 Thieves pulling it out and Self on Daredevil. That was a really fun matchup. I think it's a lot of people's top matchup of the tournament. But yeah, that was a really interesting situation. That was like a 10-hour day for me because of it. But yeah, and the players, I can't imagine how they felt. Like, Jesus Christ, that was probably excruciating and tiring. Especially to be the last game of the day, too. So, yeah, that happened. Week number 1, drama-filled week 1, by the way, already, off the rip. Then week 2, day number 4, they lost to Swamp Gaming, who was the top dog in the group, so not as big of a deal probably for them to lose 2-0 fashion. They beat Sentinels on day 5 in a 2-0 fashion, and then they lost to Cafe Rose 2-1 day 6. But guess what? They still qualified because of how head-to-heads worked out, because of how map differential worked out in tiebreakers. They're in, baby. So 100 Thieves, very, very kind of disappointing start to the preseason for them, only because a lot of people had them as their number 1 team, but I really think the patch sort of impacted them. This is what I was talking about, the patch for a good amount at the beginning. I think the patch really impacted them this time around. I know people talk about the ban phases, the drafts and stuff, but I think it's more so, I think it's misguided, the focus on the draft phase rather than the real reasons they lost, which I think is due to inflexibility in certain areas, such as the Vanguards. Okay, we'll talk about that later, obviously, right? So I really think this meta is just not that good for controllers. But regardless, positives. Delena looks really fucking good. I think he was not talked about that much due to Terra kind of taking the limelight, especially in the previous patches, where I think Terra was playing a lot of those star heroes that, had a lot of the limelight, which is the amount of kills he was getting and stuff. Kind of happens. One player kind of can take over, due to the fact that a certain patch favors their heroes or whatever, right? So there was a lot of good patches for Terra before. Now that he's gone and he's on Na'Vi, this team is kind of Delena's team now, and he was popping the fuck off. I think going into this, he was one of the best Elsa players. I think Delena, compared to every other pro, picks up heroes really quickly, especially hit scan heroes specifically, because he has very good natural aim, and instinct on what to do on ththese heroes. He's got like a flanky playstyle early on in the scene. He was like a really fucking good Hela player. I actually thought he was fucking zimming back in the day on Hela, because he was just getting kills every fight, like a kill minimum, even in a loss, like early days on Hela. But now, obviously time has passed. There's a lot of really good hit scan players in the scene, a lot of young up and coming talent that have matched him and stuff. But he still played really good despite them having a 2-3 record. Specifically on Elsa, he had some good moments on Psylocke and stuff too, but he looked good. Self as well coming out of this roster. I think he has big shoes to fill, obviously, in Terra. Looked good on Daredevil. And on the Ultron stuff, maybe not as good, but I think those Ultron comps are a little bit more macro-focused and maybe a bit more focused on your White Fox and stuff, and we could talk about that later specifically, but he looked pretty good overall, had a good showing on Daredevil specifically. I think Vinny looked solid on Groot, although him and TTK, like, I think they're both really good players individually. Something is just kind of not working in this Vanguard line, and sort of hasn't for a bit. It's just kind of weird because they have overlapping heroes in some areas, like where they'll need to fix something or change something up. I don't know why that is necessarily. My theory is, we'll talk about this later, but it's with controller players. I think TTK's heroes kind of overlap what Vinny's heroes are, and that can kind of screw them over, even though TTK was like obviously a standout player of this team in previous tournaments, right? I think Millennia is very underrated. I think is a very good support player, if not one of the best in the region. Former duelist player playing strategist, and has played really well, although has shown signs of, hey, I want to play duelist again. Probably shouldn't, because there's not that many good strategists in North America, I think, and it makes sense that a duelist can transition to strategist that has like a coaching mindset, because he's been a coach before as well. So I think this guy's a very smart player. I think he's a very mechanically skilled player on strategist compared to most. And Winnie also looked really solid as a pickup for them overall from the European region and in Spain. But yeah, this has been a very fun roster overall. I guess like kind of to talk on that margin too. For some reason, I want to go into margins, some off topics due to this sort of point. But the way I see it is like duelist players are almost like, it's gonna be weird for people that don't know sports ball, but for like people that know baseball, it's kind of like the shortstop of of hero shooters, and specifically Marvel Rivals, because everybody wants to play the fucking duelist. Everybody wants to pop off on the duelist, and the best duelists generally are going to be very mechanically skilled because it's a very competitive role. So obviously you need to play at a very high level to stand out due to everybody being fucking good. So a lot of those guys actually don't realize it, but they have the skill set to transition to support. I don't want to make everything about me, obviously, but when I transitioned to support in Overwatch, I was a DPS player, specifically a lot of McCree, or Cassidy, I guess as they call him now, and I transitioned to support because I was like, wait, there's like no good support players. Like my only competition on support was like a guy working a fucking 9 to 5 at a factory or something like that, or working 9 to 5 at like Intel. Like the dude, I think it was Adam. Like he was my only goddamn like real person I had to worry about. I think Rolf was another person that I had to worry about, but it was very thin at the support area is what I'm trying to say. So if you're a really good DPS player, and if you can take a month or two to transition to support, you probably should, because you'll make a fucking salary compared to playing DPS on some dog shit team in MRC not qualifying, okay? Now listen, I play DPS because it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I think it's the most fun role. I think Elsa Bloodstone's broken. That shit's so much fun. I don't think there's any hero that matches it. Considering support, a lot of them kind of feel heal body in this game because you get the most value healing your team. You can still get value, obviously, out of DPSing and stuff, but generally I like to play a lot of hit scan, and most of the supports in this game, besides like Luna Snow, aren't really hit scan supports and don't feel that satisfying to me personally. But if you're a pro player, you don't really have an excuse, in my opinion. Obviously, you should play support and try to grind that role out, because you probably can get good enough, right? It takes some time. My biggest problem learning support from DPS was learning how to position further back, learning how to not be constantly Omega aggressive and play for the team. And in Marvel Rivals, that's even bigger because you have to pocket your team pretty hardcore in this game. There's a lot more of like that department, so it might take a little bit longer. Ults are obviously more important in this game, especially after the ult changes. So I think it's a bit harder to pick up in that department, and it's harder to stand out as well due to, like, obviously being the best way to play support is generally going to be healing your team, and it's going to be hard to stand out unless one of your tank players is feeding their ass off and taking a shit ton of damage. So it's kind of hard to stand out in that regard. But that's kind of a different story. Point being is Millennia has looked good transitioning from DPS to support. That was kind of the overarching theme, and he made that transition seamlessly due to being a very macro level player, due to the fact he was a coach for this team before and now is a player in the backline. I think he's really good. And you actually see that on other teams that we'll talk about later, being former DPS players playing support at a very high level, and probably will continue to do so unless they get burned out. That's the only way most of these guys, especially being so young, fall off is due to burnout and playing this game so much. So that's always something that you have to kind of manage behind the scenes, and it's very tough to manage without the resources that like a professional sports team would get. So just kind of a side rant. Sorry if it lasted too long. Just was my thoughts on it, I guess. But for 100 Thieves, I think some of the biggest problems is, like I said, I mean, this is going to be a thing we'll talk about Necrise later, but I think Vanguard controller players struggle this patch due to the fact that all of the really good sort of aim assist reliant heroes that you play on mouse and keyboard hold on, how can I phrase this better? I'm rambling. Sorry, guys, it's late. Okay, the best way I could phrase this is a lot of the really good heroes that TTK, or a lot of the heroes TTK is very good at, aren't meta right now. And a lot of the heroes that get aim assist on PC when you have a controller, or at least some aim assist, not comparing it to console, because console aim assist is apparently crazy compared to playing on a controller on a PC. It's very different, especially for TTK and these guys. But on some heroes, they get very good aim assist, right? They get way better aim assist than they would on other heroes, such as Emma Frost, such as Tank Pool, such as apparently Angela has some crazy good aim assist when she goes for her grabs with her shift, or I don't even know what you would call it on a controller. Sorry if you're a controller player. I think that basically some of the best heroes TTK is good at aren't good this patch, or they just didn't play him. Like, I think that TTK, maybe if we saw him play a little bit more Doctor Strange or something, I could see him pop off a little bit more. But somebody I think in EMEA that plays a controller that started to play very well on other heroes was Enzo. I think he played very well for, I believe it was Team Heretics, playing a lot of Hulk and that stuff. If TTK could pick up Hulk and some of these other characters, that'd be sick, because I think that's the change up they would probably need, or Venom even. I don't think Venom gets as strong as aim assist though, so it makes it a little bit awkward. And then this is what I'm trying to say. He kind of overlaps with Vinny's hero pool, because I don't think Vinny looks that good playing like the Venom and stuff. And then a lot of those sort of like main tank Vanguards, I think, weren't as strong for TTK this patch. You could see he wanted to play a little bit more Angela, whereas Angela's just not like standing out this patch, when especially Rogue is so good. They don't really have a Rogue player on this team, considering people only realize that like super late. Like, Vinny can't really play the Rogue at a high level. Maybe he can. Maybe he will later on into the playoffs. Same thing with TTK. Like, I don't know if you can play Angela on a controller. Maybe, or not Angela. Rogue on a controller. Maybe you can. I would like to see that. I'm curious if you can. But that was kind of a weak link, was the fact they couldn't play Rogue, with Rogue getting unbanned sometimes, and that's holding them back. I think he looked good on Tank Pool. Apparently, Tank Pool has crazy good aim assist, and that can bring controller players back into the game. But this game has a very actually interesting balance where controller players generally aren't favored unless they're playing very specific heroes where they can be good on them. And obviously, TK is a very good controller player. He could probably make the transition over to mouse and keyboard if he wants to. Apparently, he feels comfortable, I think, on a controller. I would like to see if he transitioned over. I don't blame anybody for being necessarily like wanting to play on a specific input. I'm just saying that I think controllers this patch just weren't that good, basically, compared to other patches where he could play a lot of Emma and those sort of heroes. So, like, Emma specifically was oddly... Emma's still solid, but wasn't like a standout character this patch almost. Like, she can get countered a little bit by certain heroes. And And I feel like that was kind of my takeaway is I would rather see TDK pick up some of these other characters rather than have to play the Emma and stuff, which doesn't have as much impact on the game as he could. But yeah, the team wasn't that coordinated on dive and stuff, I think was a big problem for them. I think the ult charge nerfs kind of hurt them a lot, considering they played heavily around these sort of like super brawly, super just kind of front to back you, play around support ults, play around just being hard pocketed, fast ult charge, ult rotations going well. The 20% I think messed them up a lot, and we'll see if it kind of messes with them long term, because they kind of did scrape out of the group stages, right? They could have not qualified, right? That's kind of an interesting fact, is that they did go 2 and 3 and might have not qualified if a few things didn't go their way, if a few of the head-to-heads didn't go their way. And, if Cafe Rose played a little better, if Sentinels play better, if Sentinels beat NRG, I believe, in the last day, that would have qualified Cafe Rose instead of 100 Thieves, because Cafe Rose actually lost, or actually beat 100 Thieves in the very last day. So this team looks weird, man. Like, they are not living up to expectations, and I'm curious to see if like another couple weeks gives them time to get back into old form, which I think it can. I really think it can. Maybe the patch threw them off like a few other teams that we'll talk about later. But I think they just didn't play like the Ultron comps very well. I think they played it too passive, unlike teams like Team Liquid Citadel, who had like a very good sort of triangle situation going on where they would play, Ultron in the sky falling back to a specific bunker location with their like Invis or Luna or whatever, and then they would be droning like a Captain America who would go aggressive or something, and then they would also be playing on a flank with a White Fox and stuff with Team Liquid would, and then flying back to hard pocket their team when they needed help. They just played very, very well. Compared to teams like 100 Thieves and Sentinels even, who will just play these Ultron comps, play slow, and just call it that. There's a little bit more to it than just that, obviously, that we saw out of like other teams that would actually play proactive. And that's what like I kind of like to harp on, is that a lot of these teams will just play a comp and they'll just think, oh, it's going to work because the comp's good. But they don't think about the intricacies of the comp, where you need to actually make plays elsewhere, but they need to figure out what those plays, or who makes those plays, right? The wrong people could be making a play, and then it doesn't work, and they're like, okay, we just need to play slow, it'll work, but then you get dove upon and stuff. There's a lot of complexities, especially in a game like Rivals, that has team ups, map changes with the fucking breaking terrain, a lot of really strong ults. Every character in this game I like to describe as kind of being Overwatch characters on crack, and even Paladins characters on crack. Whatever the hero shooter you've played, Marvel Rivals characters are probably stronger. I could be wrong about Paladins in that regard, but generally, Marvel Rivals characters have like 2 times the amount of kit that an Overwatch character gets, and overhealth, and a crazy amount of HP. It's just a very different game, and it makes it complex at a macro level, which turns the game into like a bit of a MOBA at times. But then sometimes it turns it into like, we need to fucking make play. We need to figure out who makes plays on the off angles and stuff. That's its own thing. But every comp plays so differently, and with bans and stuff too, and Ignite, because we have 4 bans total alongside 2 protections per team that are specific. You can go straight to your weaknesses immediately if a team figures out your weaknesses. Like some other teams struggle with. But like I said, I think this team needs to figure out Rogue, and I think that can maybe set them apart. If one of their tanks can pick up Rogue, and we can maybe transition TDK to being that dive tank, or pick up a dive tank in general, because I think both Vinny and TDK play like these sort of slower heroes that maybe benefit from having a different tank player alongside them. But yeah, that's 100 Thieves. Disappointing overall, considering people had them ranked number 1, including myself. So very sad to see that for their team, but happy for 100 Thieves fans due to the fact they qualified. Despite everything I said, they did qualify for the playoffs, the preseason. Nobody's getting eliminated yet because it is the preseason. So yeah. Okay, let's get into FlyQuest, who, when we look back at FlyQuest roster, geez, this is already fucking going to take forever, guys. That took me nearly half an hour, and I thought this video was going to be half an hour. Oh, God, I'm not... I have a flight tomorrow, too. Oh, no. It's going to be close. FlyQuest. They are disqualified, eliminated. They are dead in the water. Nothing can save them from this preseason except a visa to bring everybody from Europe over and then maybe their fans can feel a little bit better about not qualifying for the playoffs because everybody's in North America. That's my only takeaway from FlyQuest. They ended 1-4. Sorry, that sounded like pretty harsh. I apologize. They ended 1-4 with a -4 map differential, going 4-8 total. Right, day number 1 they lost to Cafe Rose, which was an insane upset for a lot of people, considering people had FlyQuest making the playoffs. This is the 3rd place MRC team, by the way, in Cafe Rose without 2 players. They transitioned off of their 2 underage players, which we'll talk about that when we get to Cafe Rose. They lost day 2 to Sentinels 2-0. They lost to 100 Thieves 2-1 in the close game. Tough first week. Week number 2, coming back, they rebounded 2-0 over NRG. They then lost to Swamp Gaming 2-1, were the only team to make Swamp Gaming stress when they put Vess on Rogue. Got kind of stomped after that, but we don't have to talk about that. And then day 6, they had to sit back, and unfortunately for them, not qualify for the playoffs. But they looked really bad week 1, like awful week number 1 until the 100 Thieves match. They looked like they figured things out. They looked a lot better week number 2. It could have been ping. I think that's the main thing that affected them, right? You can't. It's honestly, like, I think this team on paper is not a 1-4 team. Like, I think that's not a hot take to say. They probably should be better than NRG. They probably should be better than 100 Thieves right now. They probably should be better than Sentinels right now. They probably should be better than Cafe Rose. The only team I think that FlyQuest would not be better than is Swamp Gaming. But this game is like, I don't even know how you play it on 100 ping. Like, this game is unplayable on 100 ping. I gotta be honest. Like, Overwatch was unplayable at 100 ping, but you could make it work. I can see it. This game, not really. Like, I think so many characters rely on mobility, and then you get rubber banded. You just can't play on fucking ping, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you have people on 100+ ping, you're not going to do well. Like, I really don't think, and this could be me glazing too much, but I think we can give this team a little bit of slack in terms of their history, right? Melio obviously playing well previously with Navi. Tuzi doing solid in EMEA. I mean, you have Vess as well on the team, who was a carry on FlyQuest before. You have Ken, who was also on a top tier roster on Citadel and was known as like one of the best supports in the game. He's on ping too. Like, I don't think you can have 1, 2, 3 players on high ping and expect to make the preseason playoffs. That's just disappointing. And I want this FlyQuest team to do good, and I think they can, but why would we pick up European players if we're not going to have them in North America? Like, I hate to say it, but that's just dumb, and that's just some oversights. And obviously you can go back to maybe like budget cuts and stuff, that to being a reason. But like, I would rather pick up some shitty MRC talent or like up and coming MRC talent than pick up Europeans that are going to be on high ping. Like, I understand maybe it's a long-term thing. They're probably going to go into the regular season not on ping, which would be beneficial. But you kind of killed the vibe early. Like, esports is a lot more confidence-based than you would think. And it's like, if you fucking lose the locker room this early on in the preseason, I'm curious how this goes long-term, because they're going to turn players on each other and stuff. And I know there's a lot out of their control, but I know if I have a teammate on high ping, I'm going to be fucking pissed. I'm going to be like, Jesus Christ, like, can we just pick up somebody else who doesn't play on ping? You know, like, I don't know, man. There's a lot to do with roster locks and stuff, but this team really should have been on a low ping. And to me, that's the biggest point. I can't look anywhere else. Like, I think a lot of Rivals as well comes down to roster construction. And I think on paper, this team should be good. But like, if you were going to pick up these guys, they should have not been on ping. Like, just talking about specific players, let's go across the board. I think Tuzi obviously didn't have the best showings in general, but like I said, maybe that's because of ping. Melio, same thing. Like, Melio, usually a pretty solid player, very flexible player, looked like ass. Jolly was getting flamed like crazy, but I don't know how you can like obviously Jolly in that clip that's making its way on him on Hulk on like a flank angle, dying in the hallway. There's like obvious disconnect issues with him and Ken. Like, they need to go for the dive. Not just Ken, by the way. It's the whole team. There's Daredevil using cooldowns early and stuff. Like, there's a lot more to it than just him dying out of position. But like, I can't expect people to synchronize with him either if they're on 100 fucking ping. Like, it's weird. Maybe like, obviously Jolly's just not in sync with the team. There was a lot of drama about it. I don't think Jolly is that bad. I think he can be serviceable in this roster. Like, he was serviceable in his old lineup, when he was what is it, Axry, when he was on Jobless Bums, but that's its own drama because that team had a alleged cheater on it that's not around anymore in infamy. So this guy, it's a very weird team, and like Vest still like looked like Himothy whenever he could play Rogue, but anytime you saw Vest playing Deadpool Vanguard, like he's just watching his team fucking die around him. Like it's just brutal. This team needs to not be in high ping. Like Zelos and Ken, I don't know how good they are if fucking Ken's not on 100 ping. I don't like. That's all I really can say. It's hard to judge this team when they're playing so out of sync and they're playing on an incredibly high amount of latency. It really is that simple. So I feel like I can give them a slight pass, but I can't give the org a slight pass here. As much as I like love the guys at FlyQuest, I think they're an awesome organization. Obviously, this is not a good look. Like it's just not to have European players playing on ping when we could potentially fly them in. I mean, I understand maybe there's budget cuts and stuff, but still, not good. Not good. Yeah, that's it, man. Hopefully they get their shit together after the preseason. I think they will. From what I hear, they are. I actually would like this team not to overreact after this preseason. I kind of want them to stay together as long as they are on high ping. If they're not on high ping, I'd rather just pick up keep Vests. I don't know, just keep Vest and maybe Zelos, or you can keep Ken if he's going to be on low ping or whatever you want to do. Or you could just pick up Team Yowie Lost or Team Lunex, who both qualified and look like they're improving. So, yeah, if you're going to pick up European talent and not going to go for homegrown NA talent, at least put them on low ping because that's where they're going to play best. And I guarantee if they go back over to EMEA, they're probably going to be on good teams and are probably going to play well. Considering EMEA has done well in general throughout the history of this game, which I'm not going to go into EMEA today. Maybe we will another day if I watch back their games, or when I watch back their games and have a good analysis on them. But yeah, let's go next and get out of the negative mentality, and we're going to move over to a good team, very good team right now, in Team Liquid Citadel. This team probably is going to win it all. Besides Swamp Gaming, they looked the best. They didn't drop a single map. They went 5-0 in their games, going 10-0 in total with a plus 10 map differential, which is fucking crazy. They are dominant right now and don't look to slow down. The only time I think they looked rough was day number 1 when they won 2 over Team Lunex. They didn't look the best on domination, where Lunex is very good on. Most of these MRC teams were very good on domination, but didn't have a lot of the team cohesion required for Convergence and Convoy, and got shit on outside of that map. But we'll talk about Lunex later, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Lunex or Team Liquid Citadel was just a cakewalk for them. They won 2-0 over SSG. Day 3 was an off day. They won 2 over TSM, dominated day 5, dominated over Nightmare, dominated day 6 over Yeah We Lost. They really only sweated, like I said, day 1. It's just a super team. This is a fucking super team. And that's all there is to it. Like I was said earlier about these DPS players switching to support, Team Liquid Citadel happens to have 2 of the best doing it, or rather, I guess, one of the best doing it, and then just has a really good flex player in Speedily, right? So let's talk about them, right? Let's go top to bottom. I'll talk about what I was mentioning later on. But Energy, obviously, very good hit scan player. Very raw still. I think he's maybe my weakest link on the team at points. And I know that's going to sound rough. But I think he's a very good hit scan player. He is just like a very talented player in general. I just think when he's playing like the Wolf, he gets a little carried away sometimes, kind of like, I don't know, like an old player like Super Gomez, some of these other guys that swap to Wolverine. You can get a little bit tunnel visioned. I think that's his only real weakness, is maybe that tunnel vision. But I feel like that's nitpicking. Like this team overall is just really good, and he's very good. So that is just kind of, like I said, nitpicking. But Speedily, still Himothy, still that guy, playing the Ultron, playing whatever, Daredevil. Dude, this dude's just fucking good still. Yeah, he's just that guy. He just hits shots. He just does it all in Ultron. He's just him. I mean, back in Overwatch, he was also very good and was hyped up to be like the next Prodigy, kind of like Sugar Free in that game, but just never lived up to those expectations. In this game, he is, right? In this game, in Marvel Rivals, he is living up to expectations and is becoming a very, very good hero shooter player. So this guy has a very bright future ahead of him in general. But Spark Chief as well has been farming on basically everything, and Hulk, he's had some drama with Light. which I guess we can get into right now after the win over Nightmare. There was, I don't know how much of this stuff we're going to get into, but there was situations of Spark Chief talking shit about Light and saying how he should take the back seat for up and coming prodigies or something like that on Duelist and maybe switch on to other roles. And then he didn't do that and called them a wall slammer or something like that, like he was banging walls. And then Light came back on his stream, which after not saying anything for a while. So, honestly, respect to, being private about things and letting things blow over, but eventually came out on stream and saw the interview with Spark Chief and talked about how Spark Chief, compared to him, I'm not going to say the exact quote, obviously. I'm kind of paraphrasing this, but it just sounds so stupid fucking coming out of me, dude. I can't even. He said Spark Chief, if his hairline wasn't, Light said, if my hairline looked like that, if my teeth looked like that, I'd probably also say that sort of shit, which is brother. Oh, man. We'll get into that later when we talk about Nightmare, but I could understand maybe if you come back and get into this argument with some stats or something about Spark Chief feeding a lot or whatever. Or maybe talking about how he gets carried by his teammates or something potentially. I could see that. You could maybe go with that margin if I'm thinking about shit talk. But never go personal attacks, dude. That's just a low nothing burger. It really is fucking nothing, dog. And I like Light. I think he's a great personality for the scene, and I hope all this drama doesn't send him off. It seems like it's tough. It's just a very high pressure situation because you're also streaming every single match, and he just also losing those matches. Personally, if I was on a losing team, I would never want to stream and that's kind of what I did in fucking season 3, dude. Season 2, I was on a winning team playing solid. I could talk all the shit I wanted. Season 3, we were just getting shit on, brother. It's just not good, if you're playing bad and your team's playing bad, you got to turn off the stream. But in this situation of Marvel Rivals, you probably can't because you need to make money off of streaming. You need donations, you need subs, you need support, you need haters. That sort of stuff fuels you. So it's good, but it's terrible on the mental, and that kind of showed in the team's overall cohesion and performance in their matches. But we'll talk about that later. Just regardless, going after someone's looks is just so fucking stupid, dude. Please. I love you, dude, and I think you can be a great personality in the scene, and you're still a solid player, and I think you can have a good career streaming, and I think he could even commentate if he wants to, if he maybe chills out a little bit. I think he has a great mind for the game. I think Light would be an excellent coach. He's really smart when it comes to Marvel Rival stuff. It's just don't go to fucking personal remarks, dude. I just feel like some of these players are awesome, amazing personalities, but kind of socially inept in some areas, brother. You never go after fucking personal looks. That's it, guys. Just don't. If you're losing an argument you're losing in an online debate, either take the back seat, fucking take the L, move on, or try to dig up something about their history, about how they, I don't know, said some crazy slur. I don't fucking know, dude. Just that would have been better. I mean, that's obviously very stupid and very, I don't know. It's just petty and also out of the game, so it's still personal, but at least it's not going after someone's hairline and teeth. That's just pathetic. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. That was just about the Spark Chief thing, dude. I feel like Spark Chief just fucking ingrained his name alongside Light, in which these guys are all on social media talking back and forth. I think I saw Spark Chief even in the Discord of the Rivals esports subreddit talking with those players, which is great if you're winning, but it's never good, I think, to be on social media if you're losing. AKA, look at Light, look at Mace, look at those guys. Paulie, still Himothy, came over to North America, still dominates, get target man, doesn't matter. That guy fucking dominates, dude. He's so good. Same thing with the backline, though. Their backline's really good, so he's enabled, obviously. Nero, the guy I was talking about, was a duelist player in Overwatch, came over to this game, Was thinking about even role swapping back to Duelist. I think he said talking about doing that. Shouldn't, probably, because he's like the best support right now. Mechanically, it's there. Making plays on White Fox. I think he was the White Fox player of the tournament. I know a lot of people say Valentin is that, but he's making plays with his tanks, making plays with his DPS. He's coming back to heal the backline when they need help on White Fox. Playing Jeff to a very high level, doing everything at a very high level. I have nothing bad to say about Nero. I was teammates with him a long time ago, back when he was a Genji player, back on a team called Toronto Esports. And that was with him and Dalton. And we would, like, back then we got upsets over Overwatch League teams when we were unsigned, before Overwatch League started. And he was a big reason as to why, because he was a fucking cracked Genji player. And if you look at Saipe, another cracked Genji player, now in this game dominating on support. Like, you'll just see evidence of these really good DPS players or duelist players switching to support and doing well. Nero's a great example of that, putting the ego aside and just sucking it up, playing support to a high level, and he's getting praise for it. Same thing with Cooper. Cooper is obviously one of the most talented players in the scene. I think he has some controversies of his own. We don't have to get into that necessarily. I'm sure he wants to move past that, but he's a very talented player regardless, and is one of the best supports in the fucking region. This team, not else to say about it, is a super team. They built it as a super team. Gator talked about it in his interview, another former teammate of mine alongside former coach of mine and Legit RC, who are the coaches of this team. People are calling them the best coaches in the region, which is funny. If you're in the Overwatch scene, you'll know that people would really shit on Gator and Legit for also having super teams and not doing well, which is hilarious. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I could talk about some stuff, maybe specifically with Gator and Legit, because I know those guys as well behind the scenes. Gator was one of my favorite teammates to play with, if not my favorite. I mean, the guy is so funny. I don't know what it is, but I think he just like struggles on the mic or something, because he is the most like out-of-pocket, hilarious dude you can interact with and gets along with basically everybody. But for some reason in interviews, he's just like, I don't know, maybe he's just camera shy or something. Because like, I don't know, he talks so much shit and is like the most hilarious guy, has the most personality I've ever seen. And then on the camera, he just shuts off. So Gator, if you watch this video, I don't think you will. Hopefully you don't. I don't know, bro. Go to like an improv class or an acting class or something, because I need to see more out of you, bro. I did like the Swamp Ass Gaming comment he said, which was nowhere. Like I said, Gator just says this shit, and if he was just more himself on camera, it would make more sense. But because he's Gator on camera and Gator behind the scenes are two different people, it's just always a very different look, I guess. I don't know. Gator's hilarious. I love that guy. And I'm happy to see them do well. But obviously, like I said, Legit as well, coach of that team. They've been doing a good job. I think Legit's taken more of a leadership role in terms of ban phase, apparently. I think when he joined FlyQuest originally, he said that he wasn't really doing that because he was kind of trying to get like the team cohesion and synergy down, and they're listening to him, which is most important, right? Like, I think for a lot of these up-and-coming players, if you have the buy-in from like Energy and those guys who are still young and they're listening to you, that's obviously huge. So good on him, good on his coaching staff. I hope they keep it up. We'll see. Just because they're former friends of mine. I'm like never biased, obviously, when I watch these games and I cast them. But I'm like always rooting for my friends, of course, and I'm probably more harsh on my friends generally, as you'll see when I talk about Rymazing later. But yeah, interesting team they built, and it's probably going to win it all unless Swamp Gaming has something to say about it. Fuck, I'm running out of water, dude. This video is going to get more unhinged as we go on, and I probably should speed it up. Speed it up a little bit. Next team we'll talk about is NRG. I think a team that I had relatively low going into it. But we transitioned to a Psylocke meta because of the Psylocke changes in that patch that I told you a week before, and they have a guy named Sninkers who's very good at Psylocke. But this team overperformed, I think, expectations in general. They ended up with a 6-6 record, or map record, but ended up qualifying for the playoffs in a 3-2 record overall, 3 wins and 2 losses with a 0 map differential. First day, they beat 100 Thieves 2-0. Day 2, they had an off day. Day 3, they lost to Swamp Gaming 2-0. Day 4, they lost to FlyQuest 2-0, so we're in a bit of a cold streak. Came back day 5, they beat Cafe Rose, and then day 6, they ended up beating Sentinels in a 2-1 fashion to help 100 Thieves qualify for the playoffs which we talked about them before. Head-to-heads worked out for 100 Thieves to qualify, and Sentinels obviously were going to qualify because of head-to-heads, and then Cafe Rose did not qualify because of it, and we'll talk about that later. But obviously this team, I think, overperformed expectations. It's a very strange team. I don't think I expected them to make the playoffs. Notes that I took generally was probably should have been higher on them, like especially with entering a Psylocke meta with the cooldowns that she was getting, the fact that she's all like perma uptime, just can shoot tanks. You saw Sparker doing that in EU all the time, just building up ults. The ults is obviously still very good. She just has more uptime now than she did before. I think Psylocke of a previous patch was more fun to play. Modern day Psylocke is a bit of a tank shooter, honestly, unless you have a like Gambit ult and you want to like just dive onto backline or whatever. Because the ultimate's really strong, obviously now. It like two shots people, and compared to before where it wasn't really doing that. Instead, her kit before was, hey, I could like wombo combo the backline, 1-2 left click. It wasn't like, it's not interactive, obviously, to play the support on that side, but it was very fun. I think old Psylocke was so much fun to play to do that, and had a lot more skill expression. But now it's like, I farm ult, I go in with ult and get kills. We're not going to really see too much of the old Psylocke where like Pokey, for example, was crazy on Psylocke. And really fucking being like one of the best Psylocks in the entire game. We're not going to see that anymore. It's going to be a lot of front-to-back Psylocke. Still some awesome plays, but a bit more team-oriented, and it's a bit sad. Regardless, NRG, definitely a very good team. Chime looks very good. He looks flexible, played White Fox very high level, as well as just every hero. Really good flex player that you need on this team, especially to play around stinkers. Let him play whatever he wanted, kind of. Window looks insane. Probably the best, honestly, performance out of every person on this team so far, in my opinion. I think he looks just as good as he did back on Envy, showing even more flexibility, playing a lot of the Venom and stuff. Madara, I mean, I think he played well on Doctor Strange. He had some sick portal plays. They had a lot of moments. This team really kept it together. Renko as well has just been playing solid. I think him and Velocity, very good backlines. I think Velocity kind of took a little bit more of that limelight away from Renko on Loki. Had some really awesome swaps. I think swapped over to Loki, for example, the retouch cart, very last map on Midtown. Came back on Cloak and Dagger after Loki copying Cloak and Dagger, which was Madara. I think Madara called that out, he said in his interview. Came back on Cloak and Dagger, had a long ult, had a big anti or big blind. And they clutched the fight because of it. So really awesome backline. I think they have the more to go, obviously, more room to grow. Yeah, very good. Very confusing team on to how they're going to do in the playoffs, considering they're a bit more consistent, losing to FlyQuest on day 4. FlyQuest was improving, so maybe you could say that FlyQuest looked a lot better than they did in the early stages of the tournament, and we're getting together a lot of their potential synergistical issues. But yeah, they're going to play We Lost in the playoffs, so that should be very interesting. And yeah, I think they're the only team to make Swamp Gaming struggle in their group stages, but still, I don't know if they're the second best team. Like, we'll have to see how they go into the playoffs against We Lost, who are a wild team. This group in general is very tough, so it's always hard to tell with everybody playing close games, except for kind of Swamp Gaming. It's just NRG looked like kind of the least bad out of every other team because it was such a tight group outside of Swamp Gaming. So, yeah. We'll see how they do moving forward. I think their only real weakness is sometimes Madara can play a little bit too aggressive, and that's kind of my takeaway for some tanks in general. As we progress, I should hurry the fuck up because I have to go to bed soon to make my flight. Sentinels. The Sentinels, they ended up qualifying for the preseason playoffs. They ended up with a 2-3 record, going 5-6, having a -1 map differential, right? Day 1, they lost to Swamp Gaming 2-0. Day 2, they beat FlyQuest in 2-0 fashion. Day 3, they beat Cafe Rose. I was about to say Crazy Raccoon. That's an oldie. Day 4, off day they had. Day 5, they lost to 100 Thieves. Then they lost to NRG. So first couple days, which was surprising, I think, for a lot of people watching Sentinels and being disappointed for them to lose to Swamp Gaming. They didn't have a good second week. They just didn't, right? They lost energy. They lost to 100 Thieves. And, like I said, I have some friends on this roster in Kurova and Rymazing, know those guys forever. It's a very weird team right now. Just with Rymazing and, to go from the personal perspective, I've known this kid for so long. He was, a Tier 3 player in Overwatch for a while, Tier 2 almost. There was a phase where we were trying to do a mouse and keyboard only team in Halo Infinite before they added bullet magnetism and shit, and we would do well against some really bad controller teams when that game had some crazy aim assist. So I played with him for like 6 months on a team, and he's an awesome kid. And he's got a good head on his shoulders. But we'll talk about it. Let's talk about the positives first before I get into the negatives. It's just a very strange situation with Kurova and Mirror as well. But Flame A looked decent at times. Had I think a tough time staying alive. He's still young. And I think Mir is same thing with him. Like why? Like Mir coming in for Kurova, like that's very strange. It just feels odd. They kind of did. Mir's always been this player that people just kind of throw in there when they don't know what to do, and that's a bit worrisome for this team. Like I think Mir can be a very good player. I'm just curious how it looks long term if he's going to actually full role swap to support instead of just being that sort of stopgap, like he was in Overwatch, kind of. To me, Dongmin was really their only standout player. I know Yusher had moments and stuff, and same with Rai. Actually, mainly Yusher, but really, to me, Dongmin was like the most consistent player of this roster. Like anytime they would do anything, it was because he had a crazy play on Mag or Strange or whatever. I think Dongmin was like just putting the team on his fucking back and just begging for anybody else to step it up with him. And for me, like I just feel like Yusher, Ryan, Crimzo kind of just disappointed me at the end of the day. But yeah, it's been weird for Team Sentinels basically. Like, maybe they're trying to flex around Rise Hero Pool. I think Nectar had the same issue for Yusher because he plays a lot of hit scan player characters, but then also is a very good Daredevil. But I know he's been playing a lot of Iron Man. Didn't really pull that out, oddly enough. Like, I would have liked to see more Iron Man. Although when they play Iron Man, it looked like shit. So they kind of practiced the wrong things. Maybe that has to do with it more so. But it's tough because... I mean, I don't know. Like, how much can you blame Yusher for being that flex player when Rai's been there for so long, right? Like, that's always the tough situation. Like, as much as I love Rai, like, I don't know. Like, he's got to probably full commit to this sort of flex role, you know, play more Super Gomez type heroes than playing hit scan and forcing your teammate to swap off the Elsa Bloodstone to play more of those flex heroes. Just very strange, and I hope they figure it out. Just for the sake of him, but I feel like it was a very underwhelming performance from Ryan and the squad. As much, like I said, as much as I love Ryan, like I feel like the Mantis comps didn't look that good for them. You know, it was tough. I think for Crimzo, he was like kind of doing okay on cap, but nothing crazy. The dives were just not very synergistical, and I don't know what that is from like a coaching standpoint, or if that's somebody not talking enough. Maybe Ryan could be talking more on Daredevil and stuff or whatever, setting up these dives. I don't know what it is, but this team is very off. They're kind of lucky to make the playoffs with a 2-3 record, but it was a tough group, so maybe we can give them that at least, you know, at the end of the day with some highlights. Sorry if I'm rambling a bit. We're getting kind of far into the video. This is already nearly an hour. Holy fuck. Very strange roster. Doesn't seem like a good meta for them, basically, and struggled to adapt to the patch fast enough. Space Station Gaming. Okay, this is where shit gets a little wild. All right, boys? This is where it gets a little wild because... they had a 3-2 record, 6-5 total. They had a +1 map differential. First day they beat TSM. All over this place this team was, because they immediately go on to lose to Team Liquid Citadel, which makes sense. But they would have a very close series with Nightmare. Clutched up 1-2-1. Looked pretty solid in the next day when they beat Yeah We Lost 2-0 fashion. I think that was the day where I was pretty critical on Mace, but we'll talk about that later. They destroyed Nightmare on anything that wasn't domination. This team on Convoy Convergence, I think their fundamentals looks solid. Except on certain maps, which, again, they had an off day, day 5, then day 6 lost to Lunex 2-0, which was crazy because that set up a very interesting end where Lunex would actually qualify for the playoffs. So SSG looked to be getting better, but then looked to be getting worse. So, dude, like, this might be the most confusing roster out of them all. Like, I feel like this team just is inconsistent, and I need to see a little bit more out of them. Like, besides Nectar, this roster... is a little over the place. Like, I feel like I was very impressed with Blur and Doom's flexibility. Like, they were awesome. I think Nectar obviously was a crazy good Elsa player, probably top 3 Elsa performances of the tournament, if not number 1 for a lot of people. Doom was flexing and just doing kind of the dirty work. I mean, Blur was setting up dives. I think Necrise was doing Necrise things. Fidel looks a lot improved from the previous patch. Month looks just as good as he did on Envy. This goes back to what I was talking about TDK with Necrise. I think he's having a problem with the controller characters this patch. Like, I think a lot of the controller characters are just not viable, and he wasn't playing a lot of very good Hulk and stuff, and maybe those heroes. Like, I just feel like controller players were nerfed this patch a little bit with Emma maybe not being as dominant as she was in the previous patches. Maybe also with Vanpool being banned out so much, they don't get a lot of that aim assist there and have to rely on some other characters. It just makes the flexing awkward because you kind of want the flexibility that Polly and Spark Chief have to play Hulk Cap and that sort of stuff. Like, I want to see those comps that this team really can't play. Like, Blur wanted to flex to those dive characters and did and played Venom and stuff, but didn't have the follow-up if he's not going to play with certain other heroes like the Hulk or whatever. Like, I don't know. Very weird team. I don't want to put everything on Necrise, but for me, I just feel like these controller Vanguard players are having a tough patch. Maybe they'll figure it out as they move on. But to me, that's what it feels like because I think their backline's solid. I think Videl looked much improved. And I don't really have high hopes for them in the playoffs. Like, we just lost to Lunex 2-0. Maybe they'll do well, right? I think they could. They'll probably use this as bulletin work or bulletin potential paper, like motivation. But they're going to play against Under Thieves, and we'll see. We'll see. That could be a good game. Maybe SSG win, and maybe they show like that improvement that they had in the first few weeks, but Group B really wasn't, I think, as strong as Group A. At the end of the day, we'll have to look at them. I want them to play well, but I think they're in for a tough playoffs unless they figure out what to do with Necrise a little bit. So, yeah. Let's go on to TSM, a team that ended up with a 1-4 record and getting eliminated with a -7 map differential, and also, crucially, a lot of the head-to-head stuff that might have saved them. They needed to win at least one of these extra games to qualify over Lunex, and they did not. So, their only win came over Lunex in a 2-1 fashion on day number 2, but day number 1, they lost to SSG. Day number 3, they had an off day. Day number 4, they lost to TLC 2-0. Day number 5, they lost to Yeah We Lost. Got spawn camped, which we'll get into in a second. Day number 6, they lost to Nightmare 2-0. This team is very weird. I said this about every team so far, but this might be the most weird. They had very bad roster construction from the ground up, straight up. Like, the old Solaris, like, I like the weird shit they used to do, kind of had that Yeah We Lost vibe about them, like with when they were Solaris, when they were, Dreamland and stuff. They had some unique rosters. They could play triple DPS. I think that was a lot of fun. I think it was very unique. I liked when it didn't work out all the time, when they put, like, Guru onto Wolverine and stuff, but the Gulk, and I don't know if that really works. I don't know if you can afford taking off a hit scan player and putting them onto the Hulk and putting Guru onto a DPS. It just feels a little weird. It just feels a little awkward. And it just comes down to both Gale and BTS having overlapping heroes and playing very similar things, / also having a tough meta. Like, they used to be good, I think, at like BTS got known for his Moon Knight back in the day, and I think they can do Namor kind of hella stuff if they want. They have good aimers, but they don't really have a good Daredevil player, sadly, for the roster. And the Psylocke didn't look good for BTS. He had, like, the worst Psylocke performance out of anybody. Maybe not entirely his fault. Like, it could be that he's out of sync. I think his tanks were not really working with him on those dives and stuff. Maybe that's on Guru, on Gilbert and them. But I'm going to be honest, like they were trying to do hero plays to try to win games. Like, fucking Cal was trying to go aggressive, trying to do something because he knew they couldn't win some of these series, for example, when they lost versus Nightmare. Like, on White Fox, he was just trying to go really aggressive and getting picked off a lot. And, yeah, it's just not a good look. Like, I don't know, man. It's just a tough roster. Like, I hate to say it, but I would rather have Cal on DPS than both Gale and BTS. Like, I just would. Like, I like that Cal switching over to support, and I think long-term, if he were to commit to it again, like he was in Overwatch when he was a support player, support pro in Overwatch, he could play a very high-level support. But I think that Gale and BTS were just awkward. Like, I don't know, man. Are they a content team? Are they like an actual team? Maybe they got patch diffed a little bit too. But you can't really ask for excuses in this preseason. Like, they just look like shit. They look like shit. I had way higher hopes for TSM, and they let me down. That's why I think I'm so harsh on them, because I feel like they should have performed way better than they did, especially with the support line. I think they could have been okay. I think BTS and Gale looked good previously in different patches, but they looked awful this patch. They really did. And that's probably because of dive characters being so good. You need to have a Daredevil player. The Psylocke play looked like shit, but that's also probably a team issue. They just couldn't play dive, and that's what's holding them back. This is a very good patch for dive, and to play aggressive on triple strategist, for example, which they were not good at. If they played triple strategist, they were going to play it too slow and just fucking fall over. So, just seemed like a roster destined to fail from the beginning. Just straight up. Like, Gilbert didn't look like he used to. Like, Gilbert on Magneto was popping off before in previous patches. Guru had his moments on like Doctor Strange and stuff, but like the Wolverine stuff, just that ain't a vibe. Maybe they'll figure it out in time, maybe if they stick together, but like straight up, I would probably advise TSM, and it's going to upset their fanboys. Like, I feel like, I like their team, and I really do enjoy their players and their personalities. I think they have a lot of them on the team, but I just think they should drop the roster and pick up fucking We Lost at this point, or like Lunex. Like there was Marvel Rivals not contenders. There was Marvel Rivals championship rosters that looked way better than TSM did, dude. Like fucking We Lost went 3-2. Lunex qualified for playoffs. Cafe Rose barely missed playoffs with subs. Like, guys, you're a partnered team in the similar vein to FlyQuest, which their issue is ping, in my opinion. Your issue is just having bad roster construction. And that's not really salvageable in an offseason, I feel like. Maybe they can. I really think that in a good patch, maybe they get a lucky patch or two, they can come back into it. But with this current team, I think they need new duelist or something. Or I don't think it's just that, though. This is just like very poor roster construction, and I'd prefer if any of the MRC teams over them. Like, I'd rather pick up Cafe Rose, Lunex, We Lost. Maybe, hell, even maybe a top 4 roster. Like, this is a far cry from where they used to be when they were Dreamland and stuff. Maybe if they play triple DPS stuff like they used to, or doing weird shit, wacky shit like We Lost does, they'll have a little bit more interest in for me. But they're trying to like kind of play meta a little bit and doing it very poorly. So I know this sounds harsh, and it's because I like them so much. So take it more as that, like that way. I want TSM to improve, and maybe they can. Maybe they can. But man, they just had a really fucking bad look. Like, I thought Nightmare played bad. No, not nearly as bad as TSM did, brother. TSM won only 2 maps the entire preseason, bro. You got to just think about it that way. That's fucking brutal. That's brutal for a partnered team. Yeah. I mean, FlyQuest won more maps than them, guys. Think about it that way. Okay. And people were shitting on FlyQuest, and they were in a very tough group. So, Nightmare. Okay. Nightmare. That's the preseason they had. It was just a nightmare of a preseason, sadly, for them, because every game was close. Okay. They ended with a 1-4 record, getting eliminated with a -3 map differential, literally almost qualified if Lunex, won or like lost a game or two or whatever, right? Day 1 was an off day. Day number 2, they lost We Lost 2-1. They had a very close game with them, couldn't clutch up. Day number 3, same situation. They lost to SSG, had a very terrible convergence in Convoy. They didn't even get a tick on Hall of the Jalia on Convoy. Day number 4, they lost to Lunex 2-1. Day number 5, they lost to Team Liquid Citadel. I don't blame them for that one, because it's Team Liquid Citadel. Everybody was fucking getting their ass handed to them. It was like literally just TSM Citadel going around from team to team to team, just spanking ass, just fucking whacking everybody. Like, it wasn't even close compared to anybody else in this fucking group. And that's why I was saying Group A is not as strong as Group A, because people at least, had close performances versus Swamp, and also just had a very competitive group overall. Not so much for Group B. So the fact that you didn't qualify out of an easier group is tough, and especially since I think they had a lot of scrimbucks going into this. They just choked when it mattered, it felt like. It really did, and there's no other way to phrase it, because this team, they just lacked mental fortitude at different moments if you're losing in 2-1 fashion. If you're in these games, losing in very crucial situations is fucking brutal, and then especially with the fact that on Convoy and Convergence, they would be very good on domination if they just had maybe a better coach or something. I don't think it's just that, or just better team synergy. They just could not figure out Convoy and Convergence, where it requires way more teamwork, I guess, in terms of setting up aggressive dives, setting up off angles and stuff. They just didn't do that, man. They were very individualistic, very clutch or kick kind of situation. And I think when I called out them playing bad on day 3, I made it about Mace, which he was taking a lot of damage. But upon hindsight as well, it's not just about Mace playing bad. It's about the whole roster. Like, I think their backline played pretty bad. I think people are being too hard on Skier. And I like Dinks, bro. But, like, man, Dinks had some really bad situations in general. Like, it was not good for this backline for Nightmare. On top of both Vanguards kind of dying a lot, too. Like, I think Monster just looked lost at points. Just dying a little bit too much. Maybe it's not just him, but this backline just looked pretty brutal alongside that. Really, the only bright spot I had for this roster was Vision. That's it. Vision was the only, like, really good player on this team. I mean, I think they all deserve a shot at another roster, whatever. But the situation with Light is just brutal, man. I don't think Light necessarily played that bad, like really for the team. Like I don't think he did a lot of like positives, especially like going to Adam Warlock and stuff. And on the Ultron didn't look the best. He, maybe like I don't know, dude. Like Vision was the only way I could to spin this positively. Is Vision is the only person on this roster that I could see getting picked up by any team and really succeeding. Maybe one of the Vanguards, I suppose, in Skier. Like I think you could salvage this a little bit. I don't know, man. It's as every mother says, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. Okay? And that's how I felt by Nightmare. They had every close game and just lacked mental fortitude. I think it kind of shows as well in what they're doing on social media. I hate to say it. Like if we're for example, for Light, and like I said, I love Light. I think he's a great personality. I think he's a great mind for the game. I could see him easily, and if he toned down a little bit of that fire, becoming like a commentator or like an analyst. I would love to see him join me in the caster booth even, because I think he's a great mind for the fucking game. This guy's so smart. Just not socially. Like, what the fuck are we doing talking about people's hairlines and teeth, dude? Like, come on, man. Like, don't resort to personal attacks, bro. Come on. And like, you should never, especially being on a team after a loss, don't go to fucking social media, dude. And like, it's just not, it's not smart. It's not good for your mental. Even if you played well, for example, even if you think you played well, you get very high highs. For example, for Spark Chief and stuff, I would advise him not to go to social media, not to go to the Discord server for Marvel Rivals Esports and talk to people. And that's why even like I have to like hold back from engaging in a lot of these discussions publicly, because even if you feel good about it, right? You get endorphins and you feel awesome when people praise you and people, agree with your takes in a lot of these things. But it's just, you get too high, man. You get too on this fucking cloud nine. You're like, I'm not the problem. My team's just shit. It's or whatever you're thinking mentally. I don't know what you're thinking in your head. But obviously it's not good to just be in that situation, especially if a caster, says you're playing like shit, and then you go to somebody's Twitch chat to complain about it. Like, it's not fucking good, man. Like, don't, like, I love that the pros are so involved in the scene and have a lot of passion, but you have to kind of rein it in a little bit, dude, because it's just so bad for you mentally. Like, I can only speak from experience in that, like when I would go to Twitch chat and stuff, I would get really excited about people saying fucking Pog man or whatever, and be happy about it when people were saying good things. But then there's the mental aspect of it. When you play like shit or when you have a bad game, people are saying dog shit, for example, for like to say your shit, and that doesn't feel fucking good, right? There's something to be said about, it's tough because these guys don't have the resources. I think they don't have sports psychologists, a lot of them, especially playing for Team Nightmare, an invited team, not one of the partner teams necessarily. It's not like they have somebody like a guiding person to tell them to not go to social media after you lose. Like, come on, guys. Like, I feel like professional athletes are, you should put the phone away. Like, I had that problem too, man. And it takes somebody else to tell you not to do that, or it takes too many times of it biting you in the ass and you feeling like shit about it to get off social media. It's tough because these guys need to make money, and a lot of them make money by being, personalities in the space and, streaming a lot. But I just feel so bad for these guys just like streaming their losses. Like, that looks like fucking cock and ball torture. I would rather do anything else, dude. I would rather do anything else than playing on a bad team and lose on stream. That is embarrassing, and it's like, it's super brutal, man. Like that's a tough look, and I really feel bad for their players. And at the end of the day, I feel bad for the human side of it. And like I said, it's disappointing. And they lost a lot of confidence. And like I said, you can lose a lot of that confidence, and that's maybe why they lost a couple of these games, is because you get too high and then you're going to get very low lows. Like, I think a baseball player that I follow, Trevor May, has talked about this, in that these guys get so much support from sports psychologists, from people that do a ton of analysis on sports psyche, on that sort of shit, that we don't have in esports. And they will literally tell these guys to stay in the zone, stay locked in, because if you're even like focused on anything else than the game, you're going to fucking lose. Like, I had a problem when I played to look at my monitor. Like, if there's a crowd in the background, sometimes the monitor would be invisible for me, and I literally would just see past it into the crowd instead of literally looking at my screen. Like, you have to be in the moment, and it's hard to be in the moment when you're also focusing on your stream grind and getting Twitch followers and subs and social media attraction, because you have to make money. Like, I understand it from that perspective. I get you have to do it. It just doesn't look fun. Like, I would rather do anything else, man. Like, you're passionate about the game. That's awesome. And that's the main reason these guys are still in it. Like, you can see they're passionate. That's why they're so invested. But that burns you out, bro. That just fucking burns you out at the end of the day. If you're doing that, every single day for years on end, you're going to get gray hairs so fast, man. Like, it's not fun to do that. And that's all there is to say, man. Like, fuck. I don't know. Do something else than I would rather do anything else than play professional Marvel Rivals on a team that loses. Like, I just hate to say it. That's why I don't do it. Like, I'd rather fucking cast or something, or do something that's at least more mentally conducive towards a positive mind state than having to deal with people coming to my chat talking shit during a game where I'm losing, or after a game that I'm losing, and then also just going back and forth and going into personal arguments. I feel like that's not a very good way to live your life, and I'm probably rambling on it too much, and I'm beating a dead horse. So I'm sorry, but I really do feel for these guys, and I want them to all do well. Each and every one of them. At the end of the day, like, I want Light to succeed. I want him to play well. I want Mace to play well. I want Monster to play well. I think Monster's obviously, had very a hard situation to come in to play Hulk, to play at a high level for this team. Same thing for Skier and Dinks. Like, I want them to play well too. Like, everybody in this roster, I want to play well. I think the only takeaway from this roster is get Vision on a different team, because that guy is wasting his talent playing for Team Nightmare right now. And I hate to say it. Swamp Gaming. Swamp Gaming, going straight from a team that didn't qualify to a team that did. Okay, this team not only qualified, but was the most dominant team in Group A, definitely the harder group at the end of the day, qualifying for the playoffs with a 5-0 record. Not spotless, though. They did lose a map. We'll talk about that when we enter the end. Day 1, 2-0 Sentinels. Day 2, 1 over Cafe Rose. Day 3, 2-0 NRG. Day 4, 2-0 100 Thieves. Day 5, only struggled a little bit versus FlyQuest on Domination, where they gave Rogue to Vess. This team looks good, bro. It's still Nemesis of old. The only reason why I was so low on them, I think, going into this wasn't even their own fault. Like, it's Nemesis. This team's always going to get top 3, and no matter what tournament they play in, it feels like. I just don't like their fucking owner, bro. Like, goddamn King Michael. Like, he's like the most used car salesman guy of all time. Like, I want Swamp Gaming to do well, and I want maybe Michael's changed, but I'm still pissed about him from something that happened like years ago when he fucking held back a roster of mine, playing like shit on Tracer. I don't know why I'm still holding on to that. I'm just petty as fuck like that, I guess. Which, by the way, I saw somebody in fucking Reddit saying something about Mace being a Brigitte one trick, and that's why I was saying he played bad. No. The fucking no, dude. Listen, man, no. That is goofy, all right? I would never talk shit about anybody playing Brigitte in Overwatch and being a Brigitte one trick because your name is Mace to the Face back then, dude. Anybody talks about my time in ranked in Overwatch, I never flamed anybody, bro. Like, I've never wanted to toot my own horn in that game, but I think everything I've gotten, you could talk about my gameplay not being the best, but I don't think I was ever negative to people on ladder. That's just silly compared to other people. But Michael, I still hold a grudge against you. So fucking maybe you could hit up my DMs or something like that, or talk shit on Twitter because it's funny anyways. So that might be funny if it turns into something. Regardless, King Michael, aka the Fortnite guy. That guy is a used car salesman. The rest of the team, not so much. They're fucking good, okay? This team, still Team Nemesis. Only thing they have holding them back is their past, where maybe they wouldn't pop off in certain situations. But, like, they wouldn't ever win the whole tournament, right? They won MRC, obviously, a few MRCs ago when they did play in it. So they're getting better. But I want to see them do it when the moment comes, when the time when it's finally time for you to perform, basically, right? And I think they can. They've improved the backline a little bit, I think. They have a solid backline with 4K Dog and Valentina. They look really good. Daze looks like that guy. Fucking Mello is still improving somehow. He's really good. Kraz as well, same with Scatter. This team is fucking good. This is their chance to win the entire preseason in the playoffs and finally win one. So I hope for the sake of them they do it, just because Liquid Citadel, a lot of their guys have won before in the past. I would say I'm kind of rooting for Swamp Gaming in that regard. But yeah, I mean, they gave Rogue one map to Vess and lost on Domination. So maybe they suck in the drafting, but I don't think they do. I don't think draft is that big of a deal if you're that flexible at the end of the day too. Like realistically, I think draft matters if you can put the other team on weaknesses, but what the other team does versus you shouldn't matter if you look at it this way, where your bans matter more than theirs do, right? If you ban into their weaknesses and make them play on shit they're not good on, but if you're good at everything, if you're good at everything, they can't fucking ban against you, right? So you got to look at it that way, I guess, where it's like your bans are going to work. I think bans tend to work a lot better versus the worst teams and are a lot harder to actually decipher versus the better teams and require more specific and also maybe not 100% foolproof bans because of the fact that most of the top teams have incredible flexibility and can play every sort of composition, whether it be triple strategist, whether it be double 2-2 with dive, whether it be shitty backline comps where you just play Rocket Raccoon Jeff and you fly around the map or whatever. A lot of the really good teams just have flexibility and are hard to ban against. So yeah, this team's fucking good. Unfortunately, I don't have much to say about these good rosters in terms of Swamp Gaming and Liquid Citadel, so I'm sorry if I don't go on them that much, but they looked really good. And I think they're still going to be really good. I mean, they have like best on every role. And maybe you have the argument on Liquid Citadel side. I think there's some other players as well on other lesser teams. But this is a very good team, and I think it's their time to finally show up and win the playoffs. So we'll see if they do it. And yeah, fuck you, King Michael. That's going to sound so mean, dude. God, I should probably not post this video now. Nope, gonna post it anyways because I'm an idiot. Yeah, we lost. They are the number one seed in MRC. They're the last team, the first team we're gonna talk about from the MRC side. Swamp Gaming was an invited team. Same thing with Nightmare. They're not partnered teams, so they don't get Deadpool skins compared to the other teams. Team Yeah, we lost. MRC team qualified for the playoffs with a 3-2 record with a +1 map differential. Day 1 was an off day for them. Day 2, they beat Nightmare in 2-1 fashion. Day 3, they beat Lunex 2-0. Day 4, they beat SSG 2-0. Day 5, they beat TSM 2-0. And day 6, they lost to Team Liquid Citadel like everybody else in 2-0 fashion and got spanked by them. But like I said, everybody did. This team is really fun. They're exciting. They play crazy shit. They play Spider-Man. They play Dive. They play fast Daredevil comps. Jitward ints his ass off because he's like calling engages and stuff. It's awesome. It's so much fun to see. This team dies a lot. They don't give a fuck. It seems like just a fun team to root for, honestly. They are, like I said, an MRC team, so the fact they even qualified over teams like TSM and Nightmare is impressive. They're going to probably get a lot of looks from orgs after this, and I hope they do. Jitward looked good on Daredevil and stuff on his engages. Kendrick was really fucking insane on Doctor Strange. I mean, that was probably the biggest takeaway from the squad is that Kendrick, whenever he played Doctor Strange, was popping off. But that was figured out versus Team Liquid Citadel. They just banned Doctor Strange every game, and then, yeah, we lost, just kind of lost. Like their name said. So, should have fucking saw that coming. But this team is pretty crazy, and I wonder if their, like, magic is falling off a little bit. Cart Lover obviously plays Hulk, plays a lot of crazy shit. Mask was filling onto things. They don't really have set roles for this team. Like Zaytek would play support sometimes. Xantho would just play hyper aggressive on Invisible and shit. Like this team is so much fun to watch. And they don't have roles. Like this is the first team. This is probably going to be like the evolution of Rivals. I said this before, but if every player, like especially for duelist players, if they can figure out how to play support or anybody really, if you just figure out how to play every single role, then your team could play literally anything. Like it's crazy how unbannable you would be to play against, right? It's going to be a lot of fun to see that moving forward. But yeah, one thing, the biggest point that I had, and probably the only point I'll talk about for the side of Yeah, we lost, is they spawn camped TSM for 5 minutes on Central Park, second phase. Boys, this can't be overstated. I have never Never. I've been casting this game for nearly 2 years now, coming up in a couple months, I think on in August, right? No, September. Listen, I've been casting this game since Alpha, okay? I ain't never seen a team get fucking spawn camped for 5 fucking minutes, dude. I ain't never seen that shit. That was awesome, and just as a fan, that reminded me of the old Overwatch days when teams like Selfless would do it with like Sinatra. There was an old copy pasta. It was like fucking catch my boy on Tracer touching the spawn door or whatever, you know? I don't remember the exact phrasing, and I'm sorry. I'm sounding like Flats right now with if you come for the king, you best remove his head or whatever Flats said. But this team reminded me of that, and I think it was so much fun. They bring joy back to the game, and like I said, the game's only been out for like officially for a year and a half now, or not even a year and a half now. And they're a lot of fun. So I'm excited for them. I've never seen a team get spawn camped for 5 minutes, dude. I know I'm like rambling about it for too much, but I feel like not enough people talked about this shit, dude. Like, do you know how hard it is to spawn camp a team for 5 minutes? To have the fucking balls, to have the kahunas, to spawn camp a team for that long and flip map on them and literally touch the spawn door? Like, I'm just laughing thinking about it, dude. That shit was hilarious and fun. Not fun for TSM. That shit looked like pain. But Gilbert told me, I think, like he said, like, they got inspiration from this because they got spawn camped in Overwatch by Sugar Free for like 6 months straight. They get fucking spawn camped and like the door touched against them. That is the most brutal shit, and I love that shit. Okay, listen, when you can emphasize your willpower and in your fucking just how much you dominated the other team over them, and they know it, that is the best fucking feeling. That is peak. I've only done that a few times in my career when I had like Sugar Free. We would like, I think people got mad at us on social media because we were going to win the game. I think on like Temple of Anubis, we almost capped out first point. And then we got off the point because we knew we were going to win anyway, just to make the match draw out longer. And that's BM. Don't get me wrong. Listen, I understand if you're a competitive, very, very focused about the rules and playing for a win no matter what. And what you're gonna get your fucking balls in tight about this. I could see that, I guess, but I think you just got to loosen up a little bit. It's a video game, you know. Pros want to have fun too, and spawn camping another team and displaying your dominance like that for everybody to see for 5 fucking minutes is crazy. And I don't think it was talked about enough. I really don't. That was 5 minutes in the spawn. A partner team. TSM has the Deadpool skin bundle, dude. Is that not crazy? Hello? All right, we'll stop talking about that. I'll stop glazing them that much. I think that my biggest takeaway, I'm a little worried for them in the playoffs, though. I think their juice is running out a little bit. For as much glaze as I just gave them there. I don't know if it's going to keep up. I think that it'll be hard considering Energy Shock looked very good. Maybe they could cheese them a little bit. But I think the more they play, the worse they're kind of looking, sadly. Except versus TSM, but that's just because TSM looks like shit. And it's fun to watch this team. I hope they get picked up by an org. They might still lose in the playoffs, though. I'm sorry, as much as I like them. I don't know. Energy look good. Unless they cheese them, probably Energy has them figured out. We'll see. Now, Team Lunex, second team out of MRC, which, by the way, second team to qualify for the playoffs. They ended up with a 2-3 record, 5-7 record total with maps, with a -2 map differential. So they won 2 games, lost 3. Day 1, they lost to Team Liquid Citadel. Day 2, they lost to TSM 2-1. Day 3, they lost to we lost 2-0. But week number 2, they came back. They beat Nightmare 2-0. They had an off day on day 5, and then they beat SSG 2-0 to qualify into the playoffs. What more can you say than this team improved week by week? SSG were getting better, now looking consistent because of what happened, and Lunex looked like they're getting stronger. This team might be a dark horse, bro. This team might be my dark horse of the playoffs only because maybe like a lower bracket run, they could do some shit. Like Swamp Gaming, if they beat Swamp Gaming, that'd be huge, but it's going to be a tough matchup for sure. This team's exciting, bro. Like, I might even be higher than on We Lost now, or on Lunex than We Lost, only because We Lost, or like Lunex look like a very cohesive team and figuring out the meta a little bit more than than Yeah We Lost did, even though they have a better record and did lose to Yeah We Lost. That could be chalked up to like the meta changing a week before the tournament and stuff. There's a lot of different things going on to it. But Redis was one of the best Elsas of the tournament. Tico was really flexible. Iffy had his moments on Strange. Tonez was a crazy good rogue. Silent Blaze looked good on White Fox. It's not Jeff. Logan looked very consistent per usual. It's a very interesting team. My only worry for me, I think, is anything except for White Fox or Silent Blaze. If he gets like target banned onto maybe heroes that aren't that good for controller, I don't know. I think that could be a strategy. If he's going pretty aggressive sometimes, I can appreciate that, but I feel like this team has been living and dying by Iffy a little bit. Like, he can turn into Inti at times. And I like Iffy. I like the dog in the background. I like talking to him. He reminds me of Cal, reminds me of like Asu a little bit with the hair. I don't know, man. This could be a dark horse team, and I'll keep it positive, unlike some other squads, because they are in the playoffs, but they did do it with a negative map differential in a weaker group. We'll have to see how they do. I'm rooting for them. I hope they keep improving. And they were the second team out of MRC. They got second place. And that's what I was saying about other teams that didn't pick up these type of rosters. Like, you could have just picked up an MRC team and been fine. You could have picked up an MRC team and been fine. Okay? A lot of GMs think they're smart. They can go, roster building or whatever. But if you can't get them visas, and if they're a bunch of streamers, it may not work out. Okay, that's all I'm saying. It's a very surefire fucking way to get at least to the playoffs if you pick up a team from MRC that qualifies, because they're going to be good. They're going to be good. They always are. There literally always is a team, at least a few teams from MRC, maybe one or two teams that do well. And every team from MRC this time all looked good. Like, I got to be honest, even Cafe Rose didn't qualify. They still had their moments, and we'll talk about them right now, because they were the third place team out of MRC, got shoved into the group of death in Group A. Eliminated from the preseason with a -3 map differential, but had close games across the board. Day 1, they beat FlyQuest 2-0. Day 2, which was an upset for a lot of people already. Day 2, they lost to Swamp Gaming 2-0. Everybody did, kind of. Sentinels, they lost to Sentinels 2-0. Had an off day. That was a big game. The Sentinels lost. They probably could have won if they had it later on in the tournament. Because day 5, Energy still looked solid. They lost 2-0 to Energy. And then day 6, they beat 100 Thieves 2-1. And then that set up, obviously, the match later with Energy and Sentinels to see if 100 Thieves would qualify or if Cafe Rose would qualify. And unfortunately for Cafe Rose, it wasn't them, because Sentinels lost to Energy. And Energy looked pretty good. Obviously moving forward, we'll see how that goes. But didn't qualify for the playoffs. Zanji had pop-off moments. They had to replace 2 of their players, by the way. Both Zanji and Pro Builder coming into this roster to replace both Tree, IWL, and Mr. Really Sticky. Both these guys are underage, sadly, so they can't play in the preseason due to, I think, laws in China and stuff, because NetEase's a Chinese organization. And Zanji and Pro Builder did the best they damn could. I mean, I think there were moments I didn't really like the Adam Warlock comps personally. They do, obviously. Wasn't a big fan of it for Pro Builder. I think he's been flexing to a lot of stuff, though, kind of picking up like the Doomed role for Zanji, and I think it's been working out. So, maybe they stick together. Maybe they don't bring back Really Sticky and Tree, or they bring back everybody. I don't know. This could be a team you want to pick up later on. There's always these young prods that people talk about with Energy. It's like Chuckles, you got Tree, you got Really Sticky, you got a lot of guys that are like fucking 15, 16 that are eventually going to be really good when they're of age and are really good right now, but they can't play because of constrictions due to the league, which is really sad and unfortunate, and kind of unfair for them. And I really feel for those guys, because they probably feel like they could have qualified if they were there. But you play with what you have. And Zanji and Pro Builder, by the way, just 2 players picked up last second for an unsigned roster. I mean, dude. Like, let's be real. They played better DPS as a tandem than a lot of other DPS did qualify, that were in Group B, for example. And I think they deserve a lot of props for that. No Binds looked really good at moments. Lyric had, whenever he was playing well, this team was doing well, right? Lyric was popping off, and this team would win because of it a lot of times. And their backline was really good too. I think Pixel and Respect don't get enough credit for sure. They were super good. Overall, just sad to not see this team qualify. Same thing with FlyQuest. This was a very hard group. And yeah, they just inconsistency led to the downfall, but I don't really blame them with the situation they were, dealing with the fact they had to replace 2 players last second. But there was a lot to talk about so far and in the tournament. And I mean, I probably didn't give certain teams justice. I'm sorry. This was just like what I thought was the most interesting. You probably have your most. Let me know in the comments or whatever. If you like this video, go ahead. We should probably wrap up a little bit, but I guess we could talk about some notes that happened. Overall, though, I'll keep it on a positive note, and I'll end on a positive note later. This was a super fun preseason. Most fun I've had casting this game, covering this game, whatever. Usually I make videos and stuff, shit posting, fucking reviewing games or whatever. And I like doing that too. It's a lot of fun. But this preseason really sparked up a lot. I think a lot of my motivation for the game, and was exciting to watch. I think for everybody. It was just a really, really fun preseason. And that's why I made this video, because I think there was a lot to talk about that we'll probably keep talking about, because I think it's only going to get better from here. And I think a lot of the pros are the reason for that. So even if they lost, even if I was, harsh, even if I, said some bad things about something or disparaged somebody, I don't care. I want everybody in the scene still. Like, I still want all these other players involved in our scene and to be around, whether to playing professionally, co-streaming, being around, despite what there was a comment I said. I'll pull it up right now, and maybe I don't think I'll pull it up on stream. I think there was something along the lines of, and I generally like Flats. I think he is an okay guy. He's one of the social media people in the scene. He posts videos or whatever on YouTube, and I think he's doing a good job grinding out the algorithm and stuff. And I think he's doing a lot, I think, in terms of keeping people interested. Recently, I think he said something like the pro players have the personality of a wet rock, which is just not the phrase at all. By the way, the phrase itself, as like Flats, bro, it's not that. Not that, man. Oh my God. Regardless, personality of a rock, of a wet rock, he said. Okay. Point being, we saw in this preseason that the pros don't have the personality of a wet rock. They don't. They just care about winning. And when you care about winning as much as a lot of these pro players do, that's a different side of it. That's a different mentality. It's like Gator, right? A lot of these guys do have personality, and they've shown it when you go to their streams, when they go in the interviews, whatever. Sometimes they struggle talking in front of people. Sometimes they struggle talking in front of a camera. They don't know what to say. But with their friends, when they're with their buddies, with their teammates, they have incredible banter, and they can really carry a conversation, whatever it may be. I am fucking tired, though, of content creators acting like they are better or whatever because they have a following on social media, just because they have a few subscribers. I know you do it, and I know that it's good for you, like it's good for the scene or whatever. But brother, like, come on, man. Like, these guys have personality. It's two things competing against each other. It's like going to an accountant during tax season and being like, yo, man, why are you focusing on your taxes? Why aren't you fucking drinking a beer and entertaining with me right now while we're shooting the shit about fucking meta and spilling hot takes? Why aren't you spilling hot takes while you're fucking cranking numbers at your fucking keyboard? Like, if these guys care about winning, they're not going to be doing that. Okay, they have personalities, and they show it on their streams. A lot of them do most of the time when you tune in. But it's hard to gain followings when you're trying to win and spending so much time playing these games. It's tough, and you can see what happens when you're losing too. Because, for example, when you look at Nightmare, when you look at Mace, or when you look at Light streaming these games live to an audience, he's just getting fucking shit on, dude. And how can you have a personality when, or how can you not feel bad when that's happening to you in these games? Like, it's easy for me, obviously, as a caster to say somebody's playing bad. Okay, I will never say a pro player has an easier job than me. Okay, never in a million years. Pro players, especially in esports scenes that are still up and coming like this, and I don't think he did say this, but I just want to make this point, have a way harder job than any personality in the scene, than any Twitch streamer, whatever. I have so much respect for those guys because I know how much fucking work it takes to do this shit every single day, and I understand how much you would get triggered doing it and losing, like with Light and those guys. And that's why, like I said, I want to give them some slack because they're trying to make money, trying to make a living, and I'd rather do something else. But it's you can see the amount of passion these guys have and the amount of personality that they have. So I just get a little affected when somebody says that the pro players have the personality of a rock. They don't. They fucking don't. They fucking don't, brother. They just don't. Most pro players are either socially awkward, so they don't know how to express themselves to some way. And maybe this just could have a bone to pick, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling for too long about this, but I just feel like I see this so much about people saying, oh, pro players have the personality of a rock. No, they just can't focus on that aspect because they're trying to fucking win, dude. I guarantee if any of them knew how to take advantage of the algorithm like you do, then they probably could do it because it's not that hard of a job to be a personality if you figured out the algorithm, if you're already ingrained in the algorithm. It's, I think, harder now to build a brand and to do that sort of shit because if you're not established, it's harder to grow in that department. And it's not to say being a content creator is easy, but I just think being a pro player in an esport is a very hard job compared to being a content creator specifically. Okay, if we're comparing it to like other jobs, maybe not, but I think there's just so much time investment. The fact that everybody can grind 24/7, the fact that you have to be in your A game or you're just gonna fucking lose. It's a meritocracy. It's not about being liked necessarily. Sometimes it is, obviously behind the scenes. Some of it's social, but just fucking pisses me off. All right, that's all it is. Just don't. You can spew hot takes. You could say whatever you want. Just pro players don't have the personality of a wet rock, dude. You're fucking stupid for saying that. Jesus Christ. I'm sure you're not stupid elsewhere. Like, I'm sure you're smart outside. Like, I'm sure Flats is a smart guy. I don't watch a lot of his videos outside of this, and I'm sure he does a great job with his fans, and I think he does. He has a big stream. We'll leave it there. Okay, we'll leave it there. Really fun preseason. I think there was one more thing I want to talk about. I think it was Team 100 Thieves beating Sentinels and then them calling them Sen Shitty instead of Sen City because that's their phrase, is their tagline is Sen City. So they said Sen Shitty, and it was some lighthearted banter on Twitter between the two teams. And I probably shouldn't talk about this. I'm gonna get fucking fired, dude. Fuck, god damn it. That should have been okay. Like, listen, man. All right. The game director of Marvel Rivals, Danny Koo, is a great guy. He's awesome. We shoot the shit. I shot the shit with him. I shot the shit with him a few times. Behind the scenes, he's awesome. Great dude. I understand he's trying to protect the brand. I understand Marvel can be kind of strict about some stuff. I get that. I think, but it should be okay. If both teams are okay with it, social media wise, if they're not taking any personal attacks on each other, to say those sort of things, they should be able to say "send shitty." That's it. Is that? I hope it's not controversial. I hope I get to keep my job. Like I said, I love casting Marvel Rivals games. I love this game in general. It's sick. It's awesome. It's great. Let us banter. That's it. Let us banter. We can shoot the shit. We can shoot the shit. We can have fun. We could say kill, maybe, right? I don't know. Is that crazy to say kill? I feel like Deadpool being in the game is a little weird. Okay, like, isn't Deadpool a pretty freaking mature character? A little bit. I know we get censored. Maybe we should censor ourselves more. How about that? Maybe that's the price we pay for being Marvel Rivals. Maybe we just censor ourselves. We go just beep. Just like, I'm about to beep and kill. Beep and you. It sounds way worse out of context, obviously, when you beep everything out, and that's why we usually don't do it, and that's why we usually uncensor ourselves outside of the scene. Fuck, I shouldn't have said that. Probably. Listen, I don't think it's that hot of a take. I think I'm sure it's getting worked out behind the scenes. 100 Thieves has way more drama than just the Marvel Rivals stuff with Sentinels with their COD team. I don't even want to get into that, dude. Holy shit. I lived next to their COD team for a bit, and oh man. All right, I'm going to head out of here. I don't really have much more to say. There's a fly flying around me. This video's gone on way too long. Bill, it's been fucking 2 hours. I haven't even been looking. I hope I don't look like an idiot doing this. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want more of this sort of stuff, if you want some more rants, Feel free to let me know in the comments. I don't know if I'll do something like this again. I always stream on Twitch. I'm going to be gone, I think, for a couple weeks starting on this. I mean, yeah, starting today now for Thursday till so on April 2026, the 9th until the 15th, I will be gone for a bit. But usually I stream on Twitch like every day nearly. I make a lot of YouTube videos. If you want to check out my main channel, we'll see if I talk about esports more. If you guys want predictions or just more thoughts, I don't know, man. We'll see if you guys even like this video. So thanks for watching. Again, it's not very typical of me to do this sort of stuff on like a YouTube video, for example. Usually I like to stream my Marvel Rivals content. And then I like to make videos that are like super high quality, or not super high quality. I like to make YouTube videos that are high effort from my perspective, because it's been like a month or two on a video. Those are usually passion projects for me. So that's kind of the way I see it. So yeah. That's why you don't see that stuff on my main channel. So I will see you guys later. And thanks for watching. All right. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the video. All right. Or dislike the video. You could do that. Fuck you, though.